For the longest time in the Bazaar, we were told that there would be no counterplay. We were told that it would be a toxic measure and that it would actually reduce fun in the game. However, after a long wait, the Bazaar team have finally introduced a little measure of counterplay. I really think it's perfect. Now, before we get into the actual counterplay measures, we have a quick little history lesson. I promise to make it quick, and I will even make it interesting, so stick around. Long ago, in a galaxy far away, there was an evil tyrant called Lord Veynad, who betrayed the world, killing everyone's favourite character, Counterplay. Now, he was supposed to be the chosen one. He was hyped up. He was supposed to be bringing balance back to the strategy game world, but he failed us in that regard. So, the Rebel Alliance, under the command of Admiral Eric Barr, gathered and rose to the challenge. Stephen Skywalker and Greg Solo set out with their companions to end his tyranny, but they saw good in him. And so, rather than slaying him and cutting him down there and introducing all of the counterplay measures and making Hearthstone 2.0, they instead decided to meet in the middle. They redeemed Lord Veynad and have introduced a small measure of counterplay back into the world. The end. The counterplay measures that are in place are as follows. At the end of your day, after all 8 of your encounters, after your build is locked in, your health is finalized, and you search for new opponents, I kind of gave it away there, didn't I? You, instead of finding a single opponent, find 3. And from those 3, it is your choice of who to play against. You can pick your opponent in the Bazaar. Now, this implementation is fantastic. It still allows asynchronous play, because it basically does the same search it used to, but instead of pulling 1 opponent, it pulls 3. Okay, that's a win for the asynchronous playbook, but how is that a win for us? Well, firstly, it allows us to develop and invest in more unique builds. We can literally build counterplay builds, or we can build builds that are perhaps weak to quite a common thing. But because we can choose our opponent, we can choose to not go against its weak points or choose to go against the things that it's strong against. We can invest in those builds. We can actually play these weird and wonderful things. It opens up so many more doors for how to play. But most importantly, it removes that randomly generated chance of coming up against a horrible PvP encounter. Coming up against the perfect counter build. Invertly, it stops you being able to come up against 10 perfect opponents and getting an easy win. You now at least have to have some agency over that RNG. But that is an important thing to Veynad especially, or Lord Veynad, what are we calling him now? It's an important thing to him. Long ago, he did a huge video about the agency of RNG and how you should have the RNG happen before and then let the player choose based on the RNG rather than just having RNG happen. And that's what we have now. You randomly generate 3 opponents and we get to choose. Now, how this exactly works, I did go in my large gameplay overview video from Veynad. There's more on that later, so stick around. But the essence of how this works is you are shown 3 different opponents, one of your rank, one of a lower rank, and one of a higher rank. If you face the one at your rank, you will get an even number of trophies or MMR or whatever it happens to be at the end of the day. You'll get a regular amount of reward for going against that opponent. If you go against the lower opponent, then you're going to get less of that reward. And if you go against the higher opponent, you'll get more. Of course, in all cases, you have to win to get that reward. Now, in terms of choosing which opponent you go against, you have a few things to help you along the way here. You get their name, of course, and their rank. So those are, well, the rank is probably the first indicator. If they're a higher rank, they're probably a better player. They might have a more synergistic build. But the most important factors are that you get to see their class. So you get to see if they are playing Pygmalion. Fair enough, he's probably going to have a lot of health, have some big chunky items. It's going to be a long fight. Maybe they're playing Stell. Then they have a very particular build and they're looking to do something very specific. So if you can come in with freeze or daze or whatever, you have a higher chance. You see where I'm going here? Because you can see their class, you can figure out what sort of build they're playing. If you play the game enough, as we definitely will when the game launches, you'll have an idea as to what generally people are building in each class, what the most common types of builds are. Now, that's not to say that people aren't building weird stuff, but that's where the next factor comes in. When you hover over it, you also get to see what hero skills they have. Now, these are, I guess, the hero powers. These are the 4 little things that you can add to your hero that are sold by Nufu, one of the merchants, and you guarantee you get one in day 1 currently. And I think you guarantee you get one in another day or so. They're going to have some of these hero skills. And they are hugely important. They massively augment what your hero can do. So, if you get a Pygmalion hero skill that adds a lot of strength to him, then he's probably not going to be going for that massive health build with lots of healing and shielding. He will instead be looking to go for smaller items that are way more aggressive. So if you hover over the Pygmalion, thinking, great, I have an anti-max health build, I have scythes, or a scythe, because you can't duplicate anymore. I have a scythe, maybe you have like a shiny scythe, right? It does massive amount of % damage. If you hover over that Pygmalion and see that he's actually a strength build, then maybe don't go for him, because he's going to be hitting hard. Maybe you then hover Jules and see that Jules is going for some sort of mass food build, but probably won't necessarily have some freezing in there. Maybe Jules is actually building some health, so you take on the Jules instead. That is, in essence, how you're going to be choosing your opponent based on the 3 that you're shown. The one thing you are not shown, and the one thing I'm kind of glad you're not shown, are their cards. You do effectively get to see what they are playing, because you see their class and their skills, and if they're building correctly, a good player with game knowledge and game sense will be able to figure out roughly what cards they have. However, any random player just coming in won't have that benefit, so it is a bit of a sort of skill barrier that you have to push through to really make use of this opponent thing. But at the very least, anyone can think, I'm not really good against Pygmalions, so I'll just pick the Vanessa, right? It's going to help everyone at all levels, but especially at the higher level, because you can't see their cards. That's something you have to figure out or infer. So, can you get a perfect run now? Well, almost definitely. You could before, and now that you can see their class and their hero skills, you can figure out their cards, and then it becomes pretty easy to go, okay, well, I need to go against that one. Even if you're going against a higher rank opponent, if your 2 lower rank opponents are terrible matchups for you, and the higher rank one is a perfect counter match, pick that, win, gain more rewards, trophies, MMR, whatever it is, shoot up the ladder. Has this game then become too easy? I mean, Veynad didn't have any trouble during his stream, but then he is the mighty Veynad, I guess. But I do think maybe it has made this game a little bit easier. You no longer run into those insane builds that are going to destroy you, and this is on top of PvE encounters no longer being able to kill you. And we have the fates in the game, which means if you do lose a couple of hearts, you're going to be picked back up anyway. This game is getting easier. And while I'm glad it is for the lower ranked players who need to learn the game and actually want to be able to progress through some of it rather than just getting shut out day 2 because they lost to 2 NPCs and a player, while I'm glad they have a chance to play, I feel like those of us, I don't want to say us too much, maybe I'm shit at the game, maybe those higher skill players are just going to be scoring 10-0s every game. And maybe then a meta evolves where you play things like Vanessa, or maybe even like Estelle, something that can fire off quickly and win quickly, because that's going to be the quickest way to shoot up the ladder, right? If there's nothing other than 10-0, or 10-2, or 10-1, then people are just going to build what's fastest to shoot up the ladder. So, with that in mind, and this is something the team have spoken about a little bit, I would love to see an event after your final PvP battle. Now, this could be anything. This could be a King of the Hill type thing where you stay on and fight day 10 ghosts for as long as you can until you run out of lives. This could be a PvE encounter, kind of like the Deep Diver. We saw it in the previous build. There was this diver that you could fight over and over and over, but they would get harder, and when you backed out, you got a higher and higher amount of reward depending on how long you lasted. We could see an event like that tested people, but I feel like it would be a bit sort of build specific, and then people would have to build for that. So I don't know how they're going to implement this. I would just love to see it. And they've already mentioned something about tinkering with something at the end of the day, just so especially people that go in with a 10-0, so no losses, a perfect run, are rewarded more than people that get to day 8 and then just lose 2 games in a row. Because technically at the moment, that 10-0 and the 8-2 are rewarded the same. You just get to day 10. Obviously you get less trophies, but you complete your run. So they want a little bit something extra to make sure that the people that do get that perfect run are rewarded more, and give some sort of relevance to that end of the run. Counterplay like this can only make the game more appealing to more people, though. And I genuinely think this is a very good implementation of Counterplay in the Bazaar. I didn't think it was going to be particularly possible, especially after Ben's incredible zero-sum fun sort of analogy and video. But the devs have outdone themselves and have implemented Counterplay while still keeping all the fun. Now, this was, of course, not the only thing that came out recently. There is a lot of Bazaar news you need to keep up on. So if you missed any of that Bazaar news, you should check out our other video where we go through absolutely all of it, piece by piece, covering all of the stuff from Veynad's gameplay streams. So I'll catch you in that video.